There are rivalries forged in statistics, and there are rivalries forged in something far more combustible: mutual respect, shared ambition, and the unspoken understanding that the only person truly standing in your way wears a different jersey. The ongoing battle between Las Vegas Aces superstar A'ja Wilson and Minnesota Lynx forward Napheesa Collier has evolved season by season into the defining individual rivalry of the modern WNBA era. And heading into the 2026 season, it has become unmistakably, undeniably personal. This is not a rivalry built on animosity. On the contrary, the two players have demonstrated genuine admiration for one another. But admiration between competitors of this caliber does not soften the edges of competition. It sharpens them. When Wilson and Collier face each other on the court, or find themselves occupying opposite sides of the MVP debate, the stakes are existential. Legacy, history, and the direction of women's basketball itself are all on the table. To understand the weight of this rivalry, one must first appreciate the extraordinary individual achievements each player has accumulated. A'ja Wilson entered the 2025 season already a titan of the sport. Her 2024 campaign had rewritten the record books, a 26.9 points per game scoring average that stood as the highest single-season mark in league history, and had earned her a third MVP award, placing her in a four-way tie with WNBA legends Lisa Leslie, Cheryl Swoops, and Lauren Jackson. Collier, meanwhile, had spent the better part of a decade quietly building one of the most complete careers the sport had ever seen. A Rookie of the Year, 2019, a Defensive Player of the Year, 2024, and a perennial All-WNBA selection, the Minnesota Lynx forward had earned a reputation as perhaps the most versatile two-way force in the game. With her size, her vision, and her almost preternatural basketball intelligence, Collier had long been considered Wilson's closest peer. The 2025 season was supposed to be the year she finally claimed the MVP crown that had eluded her. The 2025 WNBA campaign delivered perhaps the most compelling MVP race the league had ever produced. Collier was the front-runner from opening night. She lit up the scoreboard with a season-high 34 points in the very first game, and her Minnesota Lynx, under the meticulous guidance of coach Cheryl Reeve, went on to post a 34-10 record, the best in the WNBA. She averaged 23.5 points per game, pushed deep into efficiency territory that few forwards in league history could match, and earned unanimous All-WNBA first-team honors. The award, it seemed, was hers to lose. Then she lost it, not the award, but the opportunity. A debilitating ankle sprain in mid-season sidelined Collier for 11 games at a critical stretch. While she recovered, Wilson orchestrated one of the most remarkable runs in recent WNBA history. Starting from a franchise record low, the Aces reeled off a 17-game winning streak, with Wilson averaging 23.4 points, leading the league in blocks, and ranking second in rebounding. As the undeniable engine, when the final MVP vote was tallied, Wilson claimed 51 of 72 first-place votes. The margin was decisive. The message was clear. This was her era. But Collier had not disappeared. She earned her third consecutive All-WNBA first-team selection, was recognized by the Associated Press, and, crucially, used her end-of-season exit interview not as a quiet farewell, but as a public statement directed at WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert regarding ongoing collective bargaining negotiations. It was a moment that transcended basketball, and it resonated loudly across the sport when the personal became political. What followed in the aftermath of the 2025 playoffs revealed something essential about the nature of this rivalry. Wilson and Collier are not merely competitors. They are allies in a broader fight for the future of their sport. When Engelbert made comments that Collier's advocates found dismissive, Wilson did not hesitate. In a post-game press conference after the Aces Game 5 playoff win over the Indiana Fever, Wilson declared that she was disgusted by the commissioner's remarks, adding with characteristic candor, "I'm going to ride with Fee always." The moment was significant. Here were the two premier players in the sport, rivals for the game's highest individual honor, standing shoulder to shoulder against institutional authority. It demonstrated that while Wilson and Collier compete fiercely on the court, they share a common cause off it. That combination of athletic rivalry and personal solidarity makes their dynamic uniquely compelling, and it has deepened the emotional texture of their story in ways that pure on-court competition never could. As the 2026 WNBA season unfolds, the rivalry enters a new and potentially decisive chapter. Wilson, whose Las Vegas Aces went on to claim their third championship in 4 years, enters the campaign as the consensus MVP favorite. She is already averaging 24.8 points, 8.1 rebounds, and 2.9 assists, numbers that have established her, per ESPN Analytics, as the WNBA's leader in total net points, a measure of all-around impact on both ends of the floor. The case for a historic 5th MVP award is being built, game by painstaking game. Collier's path to 2026 has been harder. Following her ankle surgery at the conclusion of the 2025 season, the Lynx forward was expected to miss the early months of the campaign, with a return projected for the summer. Odds makers have reflected this uncertainty. Collier entered the season at plus 800 to win MVP, a significant gap from Wilson's plus 220. But seasoned observers know better than to write her off. The Lynx finished 2025 as the WNBA's statistically dominant team, with the top rating on both offense and defense, and Collier is the cornerstone of everything they do. A full, healthy second half of the season could yet revive her title hopes. Moreover, the personal dimension has not dissipated. Collier's comments about the WNBA's physicality. She argued the game had become too physical and advocated for rule changes to promote a more offense-centric style, have generated debate across the league. She is not merely a player now. She is a voice, a force for change. That narrative weight only adds to the compelling nature of every encounter between her and Wilson. It would be reductive to frame the Wilson-Collier rivalry purely in terms of MVP votes and scoring averages. What these two players represent collectively is something far larger, the argument for women's basketball as a sport that does not need qualification, asterisk, or apology. Their games are brilliant. Their competitive instincts are fierce. Their professionalism, their advocacy, and their willingness to speak truth to power have elevated the WNBA's profile in ways that transcend any single trophy. The Aces-Lynx matchup has been described with justification as the league's premier marquee rivalry. When Wilson and Collier share a court, something electric happens. Every block, every step-back jumper, every defensive rotation carries the weight of history. And with the Las Vegas Aces posting a 101-91 victory over Seattle earlier this month, and the Lynx responding with a 100-76 demolition of Dallas, both franchises appear on course for another playoff collision, the kind of encounter that has come to define the modern WNBA. No rivalry of this magnitude is ever truly resolved in a single season. Wilson has the MVP hardware, the championship rings, and the historical records. But Collier has something equally powerful, the hunger of a competitor who has been denied, who has watched the trophy go elsewhere while knowing with absolute certainty that she belongs in the same conversation. That hunger, channeled through a fully healthy 2026 campaign, could yet produce the season Collier's supporters have long believed was coming. What is certain is this: the WNBA has never been better served than it is by the existence of this rivalry. In Aja Wilson and Napheesa Collier, the league possesses two of the greatest players in its history, competing at the peak of their powers, bound by respect, and separated only by what each wants more than anything else: to be the best. The rivalry has become personal because the stakes are personal, legacy is personal, history is personal. And for both Wilson and Collier, the story is very much still being written.